So I want to encourage all of us. There are some things, they are minor. Jesus even said that food is for the stomach and God will destroy both of them. But you, for the whole past 1 week, food has been the reason why you're not talking at home. Food has been the reason why you are so dissatisfied, because you have not learned to pick what matters. So the first thing I'm encouraging you, don't fight about is food. Food. But unfortunately, it's breaking marriage to surprise you. The number of conflict that come out of food. Learn to pick your fights. The next thing you must never fight about is other people. Never fight about other people. And I clearly remember when we got married, we went to Ghana and we were driving, and one of my all-time favorite pastors was preaching on radio. And my wife was like, he made a comment. And my wife was like, that is not right. And I was so offended. I'm like, no, why? You can't. I told her, it's two things. It's either you listen, no comment. It's either you listen or I'll just put it off. You don't criticize this pastor. And before you realize, we started debating, arguing about it. It's like, why can't I say that I don't agree with him? I'm like, no, you cannot agree with him. You cannot. You cannot disagree with him. You can only agree with him or don't listen. So we drove home. She was quiet. And I asked myself, am I the police for the Bible? Am I the one defending a pastor who is sharing his opinion? He was sharing an opinion. And all of a sudden, I'm arguing with my wife based on an opinion a pastor said. And that was when I was like, this is not right. So I went, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. You should feel free and say what you want. If you disagree with his interpretation, you should be free. And it was a learning point for me that it gets to a point, I will never argue with my wife based on another person. What someone said about my wife, then I come home and I'm arguing, I'm fighting with her because of other people. And some of you are in that situation. You are arguing with your spouse right now because of your mom, because of your father, other people. You have no issue with her, but other people are the reason. Learn to pick your fight. Let me tell you a truth. There are things that are unnecessary to argue about. It's unnecessary. Your wife made a comment about your mom, and for a whole week you don't want to talk to her. And that is her opinion, and she can't share it. That's how she feels, and she can't say it. There is a problem. If you're going to handle conflict well, there are things that you must decide that I don't argue about. And for me as an individual, I have made a conscious decision, and I enforce it day in, day out. I will never debate, discuss, argue about money with my wife, no matter what it is. It's a personal decision I came to. Money will never be a subject for discussion. If you deem it was right, I agree. Because it's unnecessary. It brings pain to people's heart. But there are things that are flimsy. Learn to pick your fight. Let me tell you another thing. When I got married, my wife told me that the way you eat rice is some way. And I'm like, what do you mean is some way? She's like, you make a particular sound before you swallow rice. So I'm like, okay. I don't know I make that sound. So we'll go to the restaurant and we'll be eating. She'll be kicking me under the table. And I said, don't worry. I will train you for you to accept this, because as for this, there's no reason for us to fight about how I eat. You must accept how I eat. Why will you fight over how you eat? Learn to pick your fight. I still make that sound because if the rice is sweet, you must make sound with it. You can't just eat sweet rice but none of you, when I'm eating sweet rice and I'm home by myself, you'll be surprised how I eat it. When I see you people, I have to do pastoral appearance. Yeah, and I'm being honest with you. So if my wife does not learn to pick that this is unnecessary, then every night after dinner, there is an issue at home because you are now, instead of even resting and talking about important things, how you ate the rice, how you did this, oh, you eat and make too much noise, you eat and you left the bowl here. And before you realize, every night you're fighting about cooking utensils. You're fighting about cooking utensils. Who is inspecting your home for unwashed bowls? Have we sent inspectors to take money from you because there are unwashed bowls in the sink? I'm being brutally honest with you because it's destroying the peace in some homes. It's destroying some peace in the home. Learn to pick your fight. If you don't want any bowl in the sink unwashed, wash it. Don't fight over it every night. It's an unnecessary fight to keep having. You've left the bowl. You've left the bowl. Why are you lazy? And before you realize, a calm night is full of tension in the home. Why can't you learn to pick what is necessary to debate? There are some things you must talk through, but there are other things you must say, this is an unnecessary thing. If I don't like it, I'll fix it. But I will not let this be a chronic cause of pain in this home. Learn to pick your fights. Learn to pick what you debate about. That is the truth of life. You think the president of America cares about everything happening everywhere? There are some things you look them in the eye and say, let it be. But there are some things that are, no, we must pay attention to this. As a married couple, let some things be useless for your discussion. Food, cooking utensils, how your spouse eats, and some people are even to the point of very minute, useless things. Why did you go to Walmart? Do you need all this? And you're going through item by item. And the same items you are disturbed about, you are the one who uses them. There are some things you look and says, I may not be happy about it, but it's unnecessary to fight about. It's unnecessary to debate about it. It's unnecessary to be like, oh, yes, you may not like it, but it's unnecessary. And for all the men who don't know how to cook, just like myself, if you know how to cook, at least you can bring an input. If you don't know how to cook, be grateful and eat what you've been given. And find a better way of communicating to your spouse that, oh, as for the rice, I'm growing rice everywhere in my brace now. I've been eating rice now. When I go to work, I see rice in my eyes. Make it fun. So that the person will be like, what do you mean? Says, oh, now I want to grow yams in my head too. So you see how you are making an issue, you communicating, but you're not making it a major issue. But I'm begging all of you, make no outsider a major issue in your home. Not your father, not your mother, not your friends. Some of you are even fighting with your spouse because of your friend. You've made them too important in your life. Pick your fight right. There are important things, yes, we must debate, we must agree, we must talk about it. But other things, you look them in and say, they are not important. The next principle that I want to bring to your attention is seek for a goal, not the process. Seek for a goal, not the process. So the first thing is accept who you've married. Accept who they are. Accept them. Don't be in conflict with who they are. Number two, learn to pick your fight. Learn to pick what is important. And number three, be goal-minded, not the process. So what I mean is that the goal may be that we need a new car. The goal is we need a new car. The process is how are we going to buy it? Where are we going to buy it? We can disagree about the process, but if we are going to get to the goal, allow people to do what they are comfortable with. Conflict the goal is that, hey, we want to be happy in this marriage. The process is that my wife may do other things that is different from what I want to do. But if at the end of the day, we are going to be happy, accept the process. I'll give an example. At our last leadership meeting, God has laid on my heart that we should do an outreach to the homeless community. That is what God has laid on my heart. So my thinking was that, hey, so December, we will organize a clothing drive. People will donate new, good clothes, and we'll go and give to the homeless society. So at the meeting, Apostle Nanajima was like, oh, Pastor, what I did in San Antonio was that we had a ministry to a homeless shelter that we were sending food to, we were going to preach to them, but it was on a continuous basis. So you see, right away, there is a conflict. I want us to do a drive on Christmas time. And he suggests we can do monthly, we can do every 2 weeks. What is the goal here? Who can tell me the goal? I just want someone, if you're following me, what is the goal here?
The homeless center. Take care of the homeless
center. Thank you, Apostle. The homeless center. Whether we go Christmas, we go every month, have we not met the goal? We have. It is only pride that will make me say, hey, as a pastor, we are going Christmas. No, we can't go. No, listen. People have different opinions and allow them to be. We all don't think like you, and you have deceived yourself to think that you are the wisest person. You've deceived yourself. That mindset that makes you think that you have it all figured out, your wife can't think through, you have the better agenda, it's a deception. That is why you go and you've been hitting a lot of blockades. Because in your mind, your way is the only good way. But I want to tell you, it's rather better to set the goal. Set the goal and allow people to use their imagination, allow people to use their skill, allow people to work to the goal. But unfortunately, a lot of married couples, they don't set the goal, rather they fight about the process. By the grace of God, for me and my wife, once we agree on the goal, once it will be achieved, we are happy. Yeah. If the goal will be achieved, if we have to even, others will have to come help get it done, so be it. The goal must, so have goals. I did bring to your attention that let your marriage have goals. A goal of prosperity, a goal of peace, a goal of mutual love, affection for one another. That is the goal. How he will achieve it. Maybe he wants to bring you flowers every day. So be it. Maybe he wants to take you to the restaurant. Whatever the process is, allow people to use their imagination. I have seen one thing, and it's very, very painful, and I will bring to your attention. There are too many controlling Christian men in the church. Too many controlling. And I'll be honest with you, I sense it very far. Controlling. They give no room for you to even turn your head. And we do it all in the name of Christ. Go read scripture and see Christ. He will set the goal and give you room to get to it. Let it be how we deal with our wives. And I also dare say they are controlling women. It's not only men. Some of the women, they will come and they will look in your pastor, we support everything. They sit in the car and they will look at their husband and says, you are not going to do what pastor said. You hear me? And the man says, okay. Then the man will call you, oh, pastor, I was considering, but you can clearly see that there is a controlling factor at home, preventing the man from doing anything other than what the woman wants. Today, if you are a controlling agent, you lose that power in the name of Jesus. Allow your spouse to be. Allow them to think too. Allow them to set goals. Let's talk about goals. How do we want to raise our kids? What is the standard at home? But allow them to figure the process out. Allow them. We will all not think the same way. We will not. So conflict should not come from the fact that my way or the highway. No. Allow people to use their imagination. So the fourth point is say, don't personalize situations. Can we all say together, don't personalize situations?
Don't personalize situations.
And one of the things I had to also learn, I grew up being a very sensitive person. So when people say something, I personalize it. But I had to learn in dealing with people that you have to be able to take yourself out of what people are saying. So someone may say, oh, Pastor, the YouTube, I know Brother Eugene is doing YouTube, so I'm just using that as an example. I'm not watching, I don't know what's going on right now. The YouTube is not good at all. It's not working. Right away, I can interpret it to mean that, do you mean I'm not doing well? Do you mean that as a church, we don't have good technical team? No, that's not what the person said. The person said, what they are saying is not good. And we should not personalize things. If your husband says there is too much salt in the soup, he never said you are not a good cook. That is not what he said. But we have become people who now personalize every comment that is not good. So right now, you hear something and you put your name to it. Oh, do you mean I did this? Do you mean I did? And before you realize, now people can't even be free to tell you the truth because you personalize everything. In the marriage, allow for constructive criticism. I told you, I'm transparent to you. After Wednesday service, I asked my wife and I was like, I hope I have hot love for you. And she smiled and she said, I understand your situation. The hotness has gone down. And I said, in what ways? And she was like, I think I'm competing with Tripler. So at times you come home and Tripler has poured water on all the hotness in you. In pride, I can right away be, you are an ungrateful woman. You are very ungrateful. See, I did this for you. I did that for you. I did this. And you are telling, no, you asked for comment and she spoke her heart to you. So the wise thing to do is say, okay, thank you for bringing it to my attention. I will be conscious. That's all I said. I didn't feel bad. It's a message I preach, have hot love, isn't it? But I'm being told that my hotness is not what I think it is. I have two options: personalize it and let ego and pride eat me up and start making statements that I should never make. I want to plead with every married man listening to me. Don't personalize comments. Do not personalize comments. If you do someone's hair for them, I hope I don't go into dangerous waters, but let me be. If you do someone's hair for them and they say it's not nice, they are not saying you don't do good hair. What you did for them, they don't like it. Don't personalize it. If your wife is raising an issue with you that, hey, our communication is not good at all, don't personalize it. She is giving you a feedback that you need to work on. But we are quick to personalize and think people are insulting us. If you will avoid conflict in your marriage, don't personalize comments. Don't personalize issues. Let people be able to speak to you and stay with the issue without personalizing it. And I'm pleading with us because this is killing a lot of good marriages. Now people can't talk because whatever I say, you will interpret it to mean something I never said. Whatever I say, you will interpret it to be something I never said. There's a couple that called me and they're having a big time issue from somewhere. And I asked the lady, what is the issue? And the issues, the woman told me, my husband says, I don't trust him. And I said, did you say that? She said, no. And I said, why is he saying you don't trust him? He said he was bathing and his phone was ringing. And I picked the phone. And when I answered the call, he rushed out of the bathroom, came screaming, you don't trust me. You don't trust me. From this day onwards, I also don't trust you. And I said, did you say that? And he said, no. So just by picking the code, see the interpretation the man has from that. Don't personalize issues. Get to a point in your relationship that you allow people to say what they're saying and you hear them clearly. A lot of us, because of our culture, when our wives are talking to us, we deem their ability to be expressive to mean they are disrespectful. So you want a wife who will say, yes, 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 yes. Oh, Mira, yes. Mira, yes. Mira, yes. And God gave you a wife who is strong enough to tell you, no, the decision you're taking is not good. It's not going to help us. Then you're not you're not submissive. You're not respectful. What has been able to speak her mind got to do with respect? She never insulted you. Let it be. Because the marriages we saw our parents have is not a marriage you can have in this day and age, where the woman was quiet and will just follow, has no opinion, can't contribute to anything. All she has to do is, yes, Mira. Go read the Bible. Go read the Bible and see what the women in those days did. Go read about Rebecca saying, Isaac, you want to bless Esau? No, it's not going to happen. Go read about the mother of Samson. Angel coming to tell her, and she has to tell the husband. How many of us would take a message from our wife? Some of you, in your thinking that you're spiritual, even when your wife tells you, I had a vision, I had a dream, I was reading scripture, I have a new revelation, you even disrespect it. It's like, which new revelation is coming from you? It's all because you are not open to hear her. And it's all because you personalize issues. The fifth point is when there is conflict, control your anger and disappointment. When there is a conflict, when there is a disagreement, control your anger and your disappointment. Control your anger, because the Bible clearly advises us. When you read Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26, the Bible says that be angry. Yes, be angry, but sin not. Be angry, but sin not. And he went further and said, don't let the sun settle on your anger. Meaning that when we are angry, we should watch what we say. We should watch what we do with our hands. We should watch what we allow through us. When you are angry, do not sin. And don't prolong your anger beyond the day. There will be conflict, I agree. I tell you, there will be conflict. But when there is conflict, don't sin. Don't do something you will regret. And that calls for self-control. Watch the words you use when there is a conflict. Never insult your husband. Never insult your wife. Under no circumstances. Under no circumstances. It's an ungodly thing to do. So I want to encourage you, yes, be angry. Yes, be disappointed. But watch what you say. Because anger can make you say very horrible things. Anger can make you say things that you will regret for a very, very long time. One of the things that I pray to God for as a pastor is that, Lord, help me to handle myself when I'm put on the spot. Because people can. Not my wife. People can really put you on the spot. But a grace I learned is that it's not everything you respond to. Some things you smile and you add no comments to that. Some things you let them know, I'll get back to you. Some things they say to you to provoke you, but you take a stand and say, I have no response. And the way you can do that is that you belittle yourself for people. Don't, the only time you'll be worried is when you think that everybody must respect me, everybody must say yes to me. No, I am a nobody. It's just by grace. I have nothing to prove. I have nothing of my own. You are 100% okay to insult me. And anyway, I've heard too many insults to be offended at this point in life and in Christian leadership. I've heard too many. And in all those, God gave me the grace to still smile and say, it's okay. I remember we had a leadership meeting somewhere, and someone spoke to me. And one elder got angry, says, you dare not talk to presiding like that. I said, who is presiding? He can say more. I said, brother, you can say more. Feel free. You can say more because me, I'm nobody. If you insult me, you've not achieved anything. And I know my weakness. I can even list them for you. Things I am weak at by my nature. It's just by grace. So if you insult the grace, that's when I'll be worried. But me, you can. And since God gave me that mindset, it will take a lot. It will take a lot for you to get a response from me. It will take a lot. It may take even the devil himself. He will still not get a response. Because I've learned that when I am disappointed, when I'm angry, when I'm put to the spot, the first thing I must watch is what I say. What I say. And I leave that to all the men listening to me. Your children will put you on the spot. Your children will provoke you. Your wife will provoke you. You will provoke your wife. Watch what you say. It may be unintentional. Watch what you say. May you never use words to hurt your spouse. May you never use words. And the last principle regard to conflict resolution is that seek peace and avoid perpetuating conflict. So your goal is that I want to seek peace, so I don't perpetuate it. And that may mean say sorry when you're right. Okay, I'm sorry. You're not happy? I'm sorry. And for me, the standard is that if anybody tells me they are not happy, I owe them an apology. I may be 100% right, but if you are not happy, I owe you an apology. You may be my 5-year-old Anna, I owe you an apology. And they've all learned it. So when I'm disciplining them, the route they come to is that you've hurt my feelings. And the first thing I say is that I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If your feelings are hurt, I'm sorry. Then I'll let them know what you did was not right. But if your feelings are hurt, I am sorry. Your wife is telling you I'm disappointed. You're like, I don't care. That is not a response. The response is, I am sorry. And for all the men who pride themselves into, I say things as they are. I am not afraid. I will speak my mind. You don't always speak your mind. You don't always speak your mind. You don't. There are things that must stay there because they are hurtful. There are things that you must not even comment about, especially with appearance. Especially with appearance, you don't. Don't steal the confidence of your wife with your criticisms because I must say it as it is. No. There is a loving way you can go about this. Seek peace. Say sorry when your wife is disappointed, when your husband is disappointed. Say sorry. Apologize if they are disappointed. Silent treatment is not the option. Silent treatment, being quiet. When your spouse is quiet and you realize it, it is your responsibility to ask what is happening. And if they say everything is okay, break the silence. It may mean playing around, being just to let them know that I care enough to allow this silence to continue. How can it be that 3 days you've not spoken to your wife? Christian brother, 3 continuous days. You come home and you have an attitude about everything you do. You leave her no room to even communicate. You shut her off with every comment she brings. Seek peace. Tonight, seek peace. And I mandate anyone sleeping in a different room, go back to where you belong because you're seeking peace. And let me tell you, we all get disappointed. You can ask my wife, I am not a perfect person. I disappointed her. But one thing I know and one thing I have is that I will never go to bed and sleep if I know she's hurt or worried about something I did. Sometimes my pride is like, but in the quietness of my soul, I'm like, humble yourself and say you're sorry. Humble yourself and be the one to initiate a conversation. And sometimes like, I'm like, hey, so for mommy, and she'll smile. At least I've done something. And I'm like, hey, forgive all. And sometimes genuinely, I don't know what I did. But the quietness alone is a sign that not everything is not all right. This is a healing time. In your marriage, resolve, flush those things out today. Conflict will come, but may we apply these principles. For the next 15 minutes, I'll quickly rush through adultery because I want to put these two together. I know some of you are tired. I know it's been a long day, but just bear with me because we are at the mechanic shop. We have diagnosed adultery and we must get to it and deal with it. And I know in Christendom, especially in the church, we don't talk much about adultery. All you hear is that don't commit adultery. So we don't really spend time and break it down. So it may be uncomfortable, but let's do it. Let's talk about adultery. Let us deal with this problem that is hiding in some closets. And let me tell you, I'm not bragging, but there are men in this church trapped in adultery. I'm not bragging. But one of the discernment God's grace helps me is that when I get close to anybody in that situation, I know, and I pray for them. But I create an environment for them to own up, but they don't. But what I'm telling you is that we are going to cure it today. We are going to cure it today. I've talked about conflict, 2 things that can destroy every marriage. Conflict, unresolved conflict, and adultery. And for adultery, it is on a different platform because God's commandment expressly says, do not commit adultery. Do not, if you're married, it is a no, 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 no. It is something you give it no room at all. But unfortunately, it's creeping around from spiritual people to non-spiritual people alike because we've not taken the time to analyze the issue of adultery. So adultery is simply a married person sleeping or becoming sexually intimate with someone who is not the spouse. So it may be a married man sleeping with another woman. It may be a married woman sleeping with another man. Or in these days of homosexuality, it may be a married man sleeping with a man. It may be a married woman sleeping with another woman. Whatever definition you put to it, God's commandment to us is that no room for adultery. And there is a reason. Adultery, per scripture, is the only ground that the Bible allows and says that the covenant of marriage is broken. So when that is Matthew chapter 5, verse 32. Jesus told us that if anyone leave the wife except for adultery, they and marry again, they set her up to commit adultery. So the covenant of marriage itself is at risk by adultery. So adultery weakens the covenant and it breaks the covenant. So it is a very dangerous poison for every marriage. I want you to understand that adultery It's a dangerous poison for every marriage. Everyone who is married, hear me well. Adultery is a poison. It is a poison that breaks the covenant of marriage, and it destroys marriages. I've had the opportunity by the grace of God to talk to a lot of people in very difficult situations with their marriage. I remember I met this elderly man, and he held my hand and he looked at me and says, "You're doing very well. You're doing very well. But one thing I will ask you to do is that any sign of adultery, run away from it." And I asked him, I'm like, "Papa, why?" He says that, "I have been in your shoe, doing well, and I made that mistake. And even though I'm married for I've been married for 35 years after that, I am still paying for that price." And I looked at him and said, "Why did you say it's like, I am telling you, nobody commits adultery and is happy afterwards. Nobody. Don't deceive yourself. Nobody commits adultery and is happy afterwards." And I will go through the causes. Nobody. But I just want to drum this into your heart. Our dear women and our men. And sometimes when we talk about adultery, people look at men, but look at women too. Nobody commits adultery and is happy afterwards. Nobody. No matter the reason for which they did it, they are not happy afterwards. And that is why, watch, all the men we hear in the news, pastors, prominent people who are caught in adultery, who comes to confess? Is the women involved. Why? They are not happy. Why is it that people commit adultery and they rush to come and say, "I have sinned, I have done this," because they are not happy. So I want you to know that nobody, it weakens the covenant of marriage, but nobody lives happily in adultery. It's not true. There are two forms of adultery. So as we're talking about, there are two forms of adultery. The first one is a physical adultery, meaning that there is a sexual intercourse between the married person and another person. It's physical. And that is the obvious adultery. We are aware of it. And the next level of adultery is the emotional unfaithfulness or emotional adultery. And this is what Jesus defined for us in Matthew chapter 5, verse 27. And he says that it was written to you in times of old that do not commit adultery. But I tell you, anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has committed adultery with her already in his heart. So there are inappropriate emotional bonding that is considered adultery too. Inappropriate emotional bonding. You can be a married woman and there is this guy that he's the joy you talk to. You can talk to him past midnight for long hours, and the talk is centered on sensuality, sexual activity. It's adultery. Don't deceive yourself to say, "Oh, I've not slept with him, therefore it's not adultery." You don't need to sleep with someone to commit adultery with her. Even just sexual fantasy with an individual is considered adultery. So there is that emotional adultery and there is a physical one. If you engage in any of these, today is the day to flush it out. Today is the day to evaluate your relationship with the opposite sex. As a married man, how can you be on the phone for hours on end with another lady? How can your joy be from another lady? You go through the day, and if she's not called you, your day is messed up. And you'll be looking at your phone. You're already in it. It may be emotional, but it is also considered adultery. And I want you to have these two definitions in your mind as we go along. So I just want to jump to a different aspect. What are the causes? Why do people commit adultery? If it's this dangerous a poison, Why do people commit adultery? And I'm quickly going to give you some reasons. And those reasons are in the book I wrote with my wife, who is taking the fun out of marriage. And I want you to consider these reasons, because sometimes people become blinded and they are being deceived by a reason and they don't get it. So the first reason why some people commit adultery is lack of understanding. Lack of understanding. So not too long ago, a biologist wrote an article for BBC, and he indicated that then it is natural for men to cheat. I know some of you read that article. He wrote it with a lot of biological reasons that it's natural. And I know that especially for those of us from Africa, our culture has reinforced this in our mind. Oh, as for a man, it is the way of men. Oh, as for a man, it's difficult for a man to be faithful. So the excuse is that if a man cheats, it's no news. It's nothing to say anything about. And I want you to know that if you have that kind of mindset, it's all because you lack understanding. Adultery has no gender reason. It is simply lack of understanding and you operating below your potential to accept this truth or this lie that men can cheat because it's okay. And when you read Proverbs chapter 7, Solomon himself, after all that he did and everything, was saying that it is men who lack understanding who are caught in adultery. Men who lack understanding. Men who don't understand what they're doing. Why will you drink poison that is going to kill you? Why will you engage something that's going to break your marriage? Why will you do something you apologize for? Why will you do something that will bring shame to your name? Why will you do something that your emotional life will be in torment? It's because you lack understanding. So the first reason is that people who lack understanding fall into adultery. Tonight, may God give every man listening to me understanding. May you have that understanding that it is my honor not to cheat. It is the honor you must hold. It is the honor you must hold of your marriage. That is why the verse we read in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4 says that marriage is honorable among all and the bed undefiled. It is the honor of the marriage that you, as the husband, you don't cheat. You break your honor when you cheat. When you commit adultery, you are breaking your honor. It's men who lack understanding who cheat. The next reason is that some people cheat to get back at their partners or their wife or their spouse or husband. So the husband cheats, and the woman is like, okay, since you've done it, I'm also going to do it. So their whole goal is more of a revenge. If you've cheated, I must also cheat so that we are both equal. That is a wrong mindset to have. And there are some women, they resort to now talking to an old boyfriend because their husband is talking to a lady they don't like. Therefore, I'm also going to emotionally be committed to someone else. There is no reason. If there is a problem in the marriage, if there is an issue, resolve it. Don't commit another sin to make up for an existing sin. Don't fall into that trap. So if your spouse strayed along the journey, it is no reason for you to stray. If your husband is engaging a lady in Ghana and you're not happy about it, don't also engage a man in Ghana to make up for the difference. Like, you're doing this, I'm doing that. Therefore, as the husband is texting the lady, you're also texting the man. You're hurting your own soul. So don't go and commit to adultery, or don't go commit adultery because you want to get back at your spouse. It is a reality I want to call your attention to. If your husband is doing something and you don't like it, let's address it rather than you going to copy that same attitude, because it will further destroy the marriage and sometimes beyond repairs. The third reason is regret in marriage. And I would want to say that, as I said earlier, some people have regretted marriage because of the person they married. Because by the grace of God, their lives have improved. They have moved to different places. They have seen different people. And deep down, they're like, if I have been here before, I would not have married the person I married where I was. and that pushes them into doing things that they should not do. I want to let you know that God gave you the best. The spouse you have, God gave you the best. Any woman who comes your way as a man and tells you, if you had met me first, you wouldn't have married your wife, be bold and look her in the eye and say, get away from me, you devil. That is the voice of the devil. Anyone who is positioning themselves as if they are the rival to your wife, you look them in the eye and say, go away from me, you devil. There is no reason. If you're married and you harbor that desire for another woman, you are opening your heart for adultery. If you're married, you shouldn't be going about work and say, oh, if I had not married my wife, I would have married this sister at the workplace or this sister in the church. Some people do it even in the church. They come to church and in their mind, if I'm not married to my wife, they are still on a set for a husband, on a set for a wife. If you're married, that set is over. Be grateful and thankful to God for the wife you have. Some of you, if you only remember where you were, no lady wanted you. No lady gave you an eye. No lady even wanted you for a friend. But your wife stood by you, walked with you. Now, by the grace of God, you have something and other women are interested in you. Remember how far you've come and be thankful and commit to the one who was with you when you had nothing. Oh, yeah. Don't be deceived. You look attractive today, but look at your pictures from 10 years ago. Some of you have seen those pictures. I have seen those pictures. And you have to even give your wife an offering right now and say, thank you for saying yes to this man in this picture. You know the truth. Many of us were so unimpressive. But our wives stood by us. We had nothing. They stood by us. By the grace of God, by the grace of God, now other women are sending you messages and it's making you think, I should have chosen this person. Don't forget how far you've come. I'm being honest with you. By the grace of you, some of you look very attractive. Men, I'm talking about men. Some of you look, it's like, wow, successful. As there is dignity to you now. And other women are looking at what your wife built in you. And you have the courage to even entertain that thought. Be grateful. Be thankful to God. And settle in your heart, I am done. I am done. There's no other choice. There won't be any other choice. And I kid you not. Some people even wish that other people's wives would die so that they'll sleep in. I've heard it before, not me personally. You dare not even say it to me. But I've heard another pastor say, a lady walked boldly to him in church and said, when will your wife die so that some of us will come and enjoy? When will your wife? Told him confidently. But the other question I asked is that what conversation will a pastor have with a member for that member to be bold to say this, I should say nonsense to him? It's because you have allowed that room for people to think they're competing with your wife. From today, make it clear, no woman is competing with your wife. It is her and her alone. The fourth reason why some people cheat is lust. They are consumed with lust. So it's more of a lustful desire. They see a woman, it's like, oh, is this a woman I can have my way with? They see a man, is this a man I can have my way with? That is another reason. And the fifth reason is lack of self-control or willpower. So there are some people who, when they are tempted, they are not able to master self-control to stand. Let me tell you, you have every strength in you to say no to every advances. You have every strength in you to say no to every advances. And I'm speaking to the women directly today. The boss at your workplace is not your husband. The boss you work with at the workplace, he is not your husband. There are some conversations, they don't belong to him. If he comes to ask you, how's your sex life? You look him in the eye and says, that is none of your business. Leave no room for people to think that you are there. And I know some people call some other people, this is my workplace girlfriend. Have you heard that term? This is my workplace girlfriend. So at work, they stroll with them. By the grace of God, I have not seen any of our church members, all those who work at Triple. I've opened my eyes. I'm watching. I am watching everywhere in Triple. I've not seen that. So clap for all the members who work at Triple. They don't have any workplace girlfriends. They've passed. Yeah. I've been meeting us where you see all the time, and I open my eyes. Sometimes we meet in the cafeteria. I'm spying him from the corner. I'm like, oh, good, he's safe and good. Yeah. And if I see him constantly with a lady, I'll confront him. I'll be honest with you. He's my brother. I will confront him. Say, hey, Osofo, make a manache. Osofo, that is how it should be. And when he see me in that shoes too, every time pastor is going to lunch with a particular woman, it's not right. It's not right. Then you call them, this is my battle. You think you can deceive us? So this is my battle. Every time your battle is a woman. A man, every time the person you're working with is a woman. You will need a lot of self-control. But it starts with by drawing barriers. I don't do these things. If you lack self-control, you'll be a victim of adultery. Some things are a no, 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 no. No, no, no. And number 6, the 6th reason why some people commit adultery is to gain control. So there are some women, they will come into your life, and that a means to control you is that they will lure you into adultery. So that then it's like whatever they say, you don't have a choice. Come here. It's like you have to run because you've done something with her and she can bring your name to shame. Don't allow anybody to have that power over your life. Don't. Have honor and standard. Have honor and standard. That you won't gain control over me because of sex. And let me speak directly to all the men. For me personally, I think you insult my intelligence if you think you can expose your breast to get my attention. It's as if you've debased me. It's like, am I that stupid that when I see the cleavage of a woman, I lose control of my thinking? How? It's like if a woman dresses in a short skirt, then you start misbehaving, you start making unnecessary comments. It's a sign that you're losing the basics of self-control. When a woman thinks that, oh, if you're going to talk to this guy, bend and be sensual, and all of a sudden he will say yes to you, it's a sign that you've lost your self-control. It should be known of you that no matter how they come, you stand with what is right. Your bearings are right. Your self-control is intact. The 7th reason is peer pressure. And if your friends are cheating, it's a matter of time, you also start cheating. Don't think you are the only white sheep among the black sheep, or you are the only black sheep among the white sheep. If you join them, you will change your color too. So if you have friends who are always talking about cheating, who are always talking about adultery, oh, I've had my way with this woman. If you're a woman and all your friends are telling you, oh, this guy is easy, then it's a sign to you that you're on your way to that same state with them. So watch who your friends are. If your friends are committing adultery, run away from them. Before you know it, you'll be in the same shoes with them. The 8th reason, which I believe is the reason a lot of soldiers fall into this trap, is absence of a partner and loneliness. When you guys go on your long TDYs, when you go on your long trainings, you are lonely, you're by yourself. When you deploy, that is an avenue for someone to entrap you into adultery. But I want you to be aware that that is not a reason. You can go on a long deployment and still keep your honor and your marriage without engaging in adultery. The ninth reason is adventure. Some people think it's an adventure, especially bad men. They think it's an adventure. Oh, there is a new lady at the workplace. Oh, okay, then it's my turn. Oh, there is a new guy at the workplace. So for them, it's an adventure. Some people go to Las Vegas all with the mind of going to commit adultery because they think it's an adventure. Don't engage in that. And the last reason is temptation. But I can't talk about this without ending with how to avoid adultery. So the first thing is watch your attraction. So watch the things you watch. I have this rule, and I'll leave it with every man. Don't look at a woman twice. Any woman who is not your wife, don't look at her twice. You can see her, but don't look at her. Especially at the workplace, don't look, you can see her, but don't look at her. Looking implies intent. So you pass her, it's like, oh, is her cleavage showing? That is the second look. Oh, what is she wearing? That is the second look. Don't look at a woman who is not your wife twice. When you're driving and you see people running, tell yourself, I'm not going to turn and look at them. It's a conscious decision you make. You have that at the back of your mind that I prevent myself from becoming attracted to someone who is not my wife. And I want to encourage all of us, make your marital bed attractive. Don't leave your husband becoming easily attracted by other women. The next thing is that avoid fantasy thoughts. Adultery all starts in the mind and in the heart. No one commits adultery as the first step. First, they see, they start looking, and they start imagining. And that is a point you can always stop. It's like, no, this thought does not belong to me. The next step is, so first, avoid ungodly attraction. Two, don't fantasize in your mind about adultery. Don't be committing adultery in your mind. Don't be asking yourself, okay, this lady, this is how I'm going to approach her. I'll talk her in this way. Do not, stop it. Say, no, I don't do it. I don't do it. And when you stop it at that point, it will not lead you to vocalization. What that means is going to talk to her. So first you see her, you start thinking about her, then you go and you engage her. Avoid it. There are some people immediately you see like, I will never talk to this person. At the workplace, there are too many people, I've never spoken to them because I've worked there for 2 years. Why? What am I going to talk to her about? Our line of work don't meet. There's no reason to talk to her. And you say I should win her for Christ. It's not my duty to win certain people. Other people have to win other people. There are some people you clearly demarcate and says, I don't talk to these people. Not because you hate them, because they are simply sensual. They are very sensual. They dress, they act. Every conversation they are having have sexual connotations. Even the normal things they talk about, before you realize they're talking about sex. Why do you engage yourself in conversation with such people? And you keep smiling and they keep asking you, oh, how's your sex life? Your sex life is a private life. So watch who you talk to. Avoid sensual people. And the other thing I would want to say is that I know a lot of us are on WhatsApp groups. Watch the pictures you are watching on WhatsApp groups. Watch those pictures. They call it Old Student Association, but all the pictures they are putting there are sensual, are lustful. They're talking about sex in a negative way. They're talking about cheating. Make a statement. My old Prempeh College, our year group, I got out of the group because of that reason. And they called me. And the interesting thing is that if you put a Bible verse, nobody comments, nobody says anything. And they start saying, oh, this place is not a place for religious discussion. Then the next picture you see is a woman with the legs open. So I got out, deleted, and they called me and they're like, oh, we just want to make sure why he left. And I'm like, you people are promoting lust. I wish we were talking about things that make sense. I can't be on that platform with. Make a statement. Don't enjoy this conversation, especially with someone that you know that risk of adultery is there. And avoid body contact. Say avoid body contact. Avoid body contact. Don't be holding hands. Don't be holding hands with women who are not you're not married to. Don't be going and touching them in places you shouldn't. And don't allow them to be rubbing their body parts at you. Make a statement. Take a stand. Move away. Don't encourage these things, because that is the step to adultery. And I want you to understand that adultery comes with a cost. It will break your marriage. If we're going to maintain our marriages, we have to know how we handle conflict. And number two, we have to avoid adultery at all costs. May God bless us. If you have any questions, if you have any contribution at this point, please feel free. Okay, so the platform is open. If you have any question, if you have any contribution, please feel free. Any comment, any question? Yes, sir.
God bless you for that, deep discussion about conflict resolution and avoiding adultery. I believe that we have learned a lot. And the question that I have is that when you were giving your submission in the conflict resolution, you talked about the volleyball scenario, and then you also spoke about the tug of war scenario. So my question is that some people, they will try to avoid the two scenarios. They will try to avoid it at all. They'll be like, okay, what if I won't play? I won't do tug of war. I won't play. Do what you want to do. So it's like they are avoiding the resolution. How do you deal with such people?
So thank you very much. So for that is a very good question. So you are 100% right. And these are people who basically, they don't want confrontation. They don't want to tackle any issues. Like if something is going on, I don't want to keep the goal. I just want to be myself. You do what you want to do. What I'll first say is that usually it happens when those people feel that what they are bringing to the table doesn't matter. So it's like, if I come with a tug of war, you pull and drag me. If I come for volleyball too, you keep the ball on your side and you'll be the only one playing. You won't even let me get to the ball. So do your tug of war and play your volley. When you're done and you're happy. So what I would recommend is that first, acknowledge the person's input. Nobody will shut down when they feel that what they have to do or say matters. So when you empower the person and let them say, hey, and one of the things I've also learned in Christian leadership is that when you want to empower people, sometimes you have your plan, but do what they're saying to let them know that what they said matters. So that is maybe a way to bring the person on board and say, okay, we want to buy a car. Maybe you want a black car, you want a BMW, the person wants a Mercedes-Benz. You're like, okay, we're going for the Mercedes-Benz. The only goal is I'm playing volley with you. I know that if I say any other thing, it may cause you to withdraw. So bring people on board, let them know that what they have to contribute matters. Number two, some people also use that as a means of control. So they know that if I don't give in, I can, if it works, I didn't say anything. If it doesn't work, I can get to blame you. And in that case, be mindful how it's done. So don't allow people to use their silence and their non-contribution as a means to control what you do. Rather, let them know that this is our decision. We build together, and if it's destroyed, it's our responsibility. And one of the things I incorporate is that at the end of the day, if we're taking any decision, my wife, if you don't say yes, we're not going to do it. And if you've seen at every presbytery meeting, what do? I go around and ask everybody, what do you have to say? Why? If you say you have nothing to say, you've contributed. So make sure that people give consent. Don't assume that their quietness means they agree. Okay, I'm going to do this. Is that something we're going? Are we all together? So if the answer will be either yes or no. If no, why? Then you are now bringing the person's input on board. But don't go, especially if you're married, don't be taking decisions without input from your spouse, no matter what it is. Because at the end of the day, when it fails, it's the two of you who have to carry it together. So, Sophie, if you have any comment, you can add to it. If you have any further follow-up, please feel free.
As I have a question.
Yes, Apostle Peter.
So I will want more clarification on the first point about conflict resolution. When you say that people let people be, I want to say that if some of us have been left to be where we are, we still be wearing jacket by now. So you have to be more clear that if it is positive and you want the person to be, fine. But if the person have a negative thing that is not affecting the person, that's why we come together as spouses to make the person better. So if somebody you've seen that even though where he's coming from, he was brought up, there are certain things he would never change to become. And he's still stagnant. He said, oh, this is how I am. This is how I am. Let me give you an example. For me, my agenda and plan in life was to be a soccer player, footballer. So everything was until I met my wife. You know, so she has to do things to make me change that soccer is not the only way you can survive in life. You know, so even at the point I couldn't wear a suit. I couldn't wear trousers. There are certain things when you put there, if it is not sporty, I won't wear. So if I say you are stuck there, oh, this is how I am, this is how I am, and it's negatively going to influence or affect you in the future, it's not going to help. So if you can expand and explain further, people will not think that, oh, this is how I am, so I'm stuck there.
So that is a good point, and thank you for bringing that up. So what it is that we are in each other's life to make our lives better. That is a goal. But all I was trying to imply is that there are things that people will not change, no matter how you even encourage them. If you are married to such a person, let's say Auntie Beverly showed you that soccer is not the only thing, and you're like, no, for me, it's soccer. For me, it's soccer. I can guarantee if she loves you, she will let you be. So all I'm trying to say is that don't force your spouse into a mold they are not. I'll give you a good example. My wife, I love her to death. It's not a typical, I'm on Facebook. Before I make some statement, people will come after my head. I'm not on Facebook. Anyway. You're on YouTube, Pastor. Also for Eugene, am I on Facebook?
No, you're on YouTube, Pastor.
I'm on YouTube. I'll say it in a proverbial way. I'll say it as it is. My wife is not a typical Church of Pentecost of Umami. She's not. Am I going to force her into that mode? Never. I'll let her be. I'm not saying those who are being forced into a mode, but I have to come to that acceptance that this is who she is and let her be. I cannot be like, hey, you're a pastor's wife. When we come for Bible studies, don't say anything. Keep quiet. That is what people see. Oh, so for me come for Bible studies, won't say anything till the end. And so for me, it's like, oh, it's like, praise the Lord, and that is it. My wife is an outdoor, people-centered person. I have to make that choice. Either I let her be or tell her, hey, you have to feel this mood. And I came to that personal conclusion. Let her be. Let her express her soul. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, not everybody will wear a suit. If you marry me because you would love to see me in a suit, maybe not me. So Yes, if you marry someone who does not wear a suit because they don't have a suit or they don't know they can wear a suit, yes, you can encourage, help the person. But if you marry someone who says, for me, I'm an African wear person, that's all I wear, then every Sunday you're fighting with your husband. When will you wear a suit? See, Pastor. Pastor wears a suit. Start listing all the suit wearers in the church. And the person says, I am comfortable like this. Let him be. Don't look at him and say, you wear African wear. See, sister so and so. See, sister so and so. You go and buy and say, I can't wear these things. Not everybody wants to wear high heel. Let her be. But let's say you buy the high heel and says, wow, thank you. I'm going to wear the high heel. Let her be too. So yes, we can encourage people. But the truth is that let people express their soul. If their soul is that I don't want suit, let them be. But if their soul is that, hey, I'm open, just that I don't have what it takes to buy the suit, buy it for him. Let him wear it. So there is a way, there is a limit to how you can encourage people to change. If the change is in them, they will change. But there are some people, no matter what you do, you will have continuous struggle because you're letting them operate out of their being. If you have a follow-up, please feel free and you can come in with it.
It's okay. Thank you.
Any other question, please?
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, please, I wanted to comment on I want to talk about, there are some people that it's not everybody that you can go and preach the word of God to.
Yeah.
Sometimes as Christians, we might say that somebody is in help and then we want to help that person, but you know that this person you are going to help, if you don't take time, you will fall in the same thing that the person is falling into. So when we see something like that, we should quickly find a way to come back and then rethink, because my husband always said that if you don't take time, you go helping somebody and then you will stay there with the person or you fall with the person. So we should be watchful of that also. If you cannot do something, ask for help, more enforcement to be able to do what you have to do for Christ. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Felicia. And that's a good point. Don't create unhealthy situations, even in the church. I personally believe as a married man, your best friend can be a woman who is not your wife. You can argue with me all you want, but I'm giving you a godly and a sound advice. That you are deceiving yourself. Oh, my best friend is a lady. We share everything. We've been all, no. You're on unstable grounds. It's unhealthy. You're building emotional bridges you shouldn't build. As a married woman, your best friend can be another married man. It's an unhealthy situation. And yes, I'm a pastor. There are people, I've been at Tripler for 2 years. I've never even said good morning to them. They are too sensual for my good morning. They are too sensual. Basically, it's like, notice me. Everything they're doing is notice me. And for me, I don't look at a woman twice. I can see you, but you will never get a second look. The only one I look multiple times is my Lady Dora. As for her, I will look till I die. And when I even get to heaven, I'll spy her a little bit because I'll be close to Jesus. Me, I'm going close to the throne. So I'll spy her and be like, oh, come visit the throne room. I'll introduce you to my boss, Jesus. So that is the truth. Let us not deceive ourselves. There are people you avoid at all costs because they're sensual in the way they relate to you. Also for Joshua, please, your comment.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor. So is it all right for couples to, whatever they may be, whether a man or a woman, to keep on reminding their spouses about past conflicts that has been resolved when new ones comes up and they are resolving it?
Thank you very much. I think you've asked a very deep question, and every question comes very deep. And one of the things that I would say to people is that people see patterns. So sometimes when you change and you give them time to earn their trust, the old events lose their significance. Every month you insult me and say, I'm foolish. Then you come in and say, oh, I'm sorry. It is anger that made me say that. The next month you do that. The next month you do that. The fourth month, it will be like, hey, brother, January, anger. February, I didn't cook rice. March. So the reason is that you are creating a pattern. What I tell people is that when you offend people and you genuinely change, time heals. Time heals. But when we go back to that cycle, so the first question you should ask yourself is that, am I repeating? Is it becoming a habit? Then I have to ensure that I end that trust by not repeating the habit. But on the other hand, if the person is bringing up, it could also mean that it's not being well addressed. It could mean that they still have things that they want to express, but because you said sorry and didn't give them room to really speak their heart, they shut some things down. So every opening, one thing will slip out. So sometimes what I tell people is that don't wait to address issue when you are in the midst of the fire. Out of every month, I ask even my kids, have I done anything to disappoint you guys? Have I done anything you're not happy with? And I make them say those things when they are not angry. I'm not screaming at them. I'm not disciplining them. I give them that room when we can say, and I'm not under any stress to give them an answer they won't be happy with. And I do same with my wife. Have I said anything you're not happy with? So when you have those peaceful moments and you bring those things, and one of the things I intentionally do sometimes, like when I know that there are things from the past, I bring it up, say, hey, when I said this, what were you really thinking? Because I want to really dig down and really unearth that issue out. So let us address issues in peaceful time. Don't wait for offense to come. Then it's like all the other things. And genuinely, if you're offended, speak up. Speak up. Don't harbor offense. Offense distorts love. So if you're in a marriage and there is things bothering you, have time and talk through it. Don't wait for those times because they compound and they make it difficult to resolve non-threatening issues.
Thank you, Pastor.
Welcome. Any other comment? We have just 9 minutes and we'll bring it to an end. Any comment, any question?
Hello, Pastor.
Yes, it's up for you, Eugene.
So my question is, people, right? I mean, by virtue of temperaments and stuff, we have people that are like deep thinkers. So I mean, like everything that they receive or everything that they hear, they kind of put it into deeper thought, and they think. And such people, I think, have that propensity to take things personal because of the way they think deep about everything that they hear. So I mean, my question would be, what is your advice to such a person? Or I mean, how you can counsel such a person?
So they think deep before they take decisions, or when there's an issue before they will react, they want to take time and talk about it.
So the thinking deep is, I mean, so they think deep in general in terms of making the decisions and stuff. So I believe such people also have that same propensity to think deep about everything that comes out. So if they hear something about themselves, they go into deep thoughts about, okay, why did the person say this way, that way, and that kind of end up ending into like taking things personal. And I'm seeing it from my own understanding, how I sometimes behave taking things personal because of the way I am in depth about things. So I'm asking, how will you advise such a person?
So what I would say is that is an attitude that is helpful in dealing with life challenges. But one of the things I've also learned in dealing with people is that those of us in that shoe, we fall foul of misinterpreting people. Because you think deep, you read meanings people did not mean. So when we got married, we're living in Chicago, we'll be talking, my wife will say something, all of a sudden I'll be quiet. And I'm thinking, I'm like, so do you mean this? Do you mean that? And I make up my mind, this is not right. So I'll be quiet. Then she would try, it's like, is everything okay? I'm like, no, everything is okay, I'm fine. Then she would try, like, let's go for work. No, I don't want to work. Have I done something? No, you've not done anything. Then she would try, and she would now also be quiet. And at the back of me, I'm like, you have offended me. You can't even recognize you've offended me, and you are quiet too. So we'll go throughout the night, quiet, watching CNN. Then when it's time to go and sleep, that's when all the Bible verses will be coming to my mind. Don't sleep on your anger. I'm like, hey, Bible, I cannot sleep. So I'll be turning back and forth in my mind. I'm like, she has to say she's sorry. Why can't she just recognize that she did this and that's why I was quiet? She has to say, but before I sleep, I'm like, I can't also disobey the promptings in my heart. So I'll be like, why are you quiet? And she'll be like, you were quiet first. I'm like, you said this. And she'll be like, me? I never said that. And she'll say exactly what she said. And I just interpreted what she said to mean what I say she said. And for almost 3 hours of silent treatment is my interpretation. So for those people in that shoes, it's easy for us to feel self-righteous because we think we've analyzed what people said and we've come to the conclusion, maybe that's not what they meant. So the goal is that anytime you are not happy, call for a timeout. And that is why I started learning to vocalize when I'm not this. I'm like, hey, dear, what do you mean by this? Because now I want you to say what you really mean. Oh, do you mean this? So that I can, if there is any reason for me to say what I want to say, I say it there and then, rather than internalizing, interpreting, and only to be wrong. So be careful how you interpret people, because many times people say what they don't mean. So what they are saying is different from their thought. Their words don't convey their thought. So it is dangerous. You can easily misinterpret people and get angry when they didn't mean to offend you. If it's general other decisions, yes, take the time you need, but it's better to let people speak up than internalize and hurt themselves in the long run. So that's what I would say to that.
Thank you, Pastor.
Welcome.
Hello, Pastor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, today I have 1 million questions.
So feel free. I know you're asking for people. The Holy Spirit is revealing it to you, so please feel free.
Yeah, so thank you. So you said that we should let people be. And I remember you gave the example of, the sound that you make when eating.
Yeah.
There is one in my house.
Also for B.
In fact,
Auntie, let him be, oh, let him be. Hey!
no, Pastor, it's like anytime we are eating, she keeps on making this sound. And in fact, I've tried to let it be, but I can't let it be. The sound, anytime she does that, I lose my appetite. But what I do is that when we're eating that one, I get mad, but after that I forget about it. But anytime we start eating, the sound comes again, especially when she is drinking soup and food that is hot. It is very, very, very annoying, Pastor, I'm telling you. But so letting people be, is it always, in such situations you can let them be? Is it always the case that you have to let people be? Especially, we talked about adultery, and I believe that as Christians, we should not put people in a position where they are lasting when we know what adultery is. So, for instance, if your wife is going out And let's say your wife growing up, she likes wearing mini skirts, showing the cleavage. And you as a Christian leader or as a Christian brother, you know that your wife is going to put people into temptation. Not that she's going to lust after them, but that is how she is. She likes dressing, wearing mini skirt. You advise her and she tells you, let me be. How do you, what advice do you have for such a lady and or such a couple?
So that's a good question. So what I'll start off with a comment about the sound with eating. So what we have to understand is that we have to accommodate one another. So if you know it can cause someone to lose his appetite, you reduce the sound a little bit, but still, if it comes, it comes. And what we have to also understand that people, the only criteria I have is that when I know people are not intentionally provoking me, I tell myself, let them be. So if I know that, oh, this person is doing this intentionally to provoke me to say something, I wouldn't. But what it is that there are some things that is part and parcel of our being now. I accept and say, oh, that's how my wife drinks soup. I may not like it, but when I'm drinking my own, I'll also do what makes me happy. The let people be does not mean allow them to do what is not right. The let people be is talking about accepting them for their personhood. Some people like certain hairstyle. No, certain hairstyle fits them. Natural does not fit everybody. So your wife says, I don't like natural, it doesn't fit me. Like, no, you're going to do natural. Let her be in that way. But when you take it to the step you took it, which is a good one, the way she's dressing and everything, two things. One, if you have seen that, address it in a loving way. Never let it be in a form of provocation, in the form of condemnation, because as you already said, that may never be their intention. So you can approach these issues that, hey, you're my wife, I love you to death. I think you change what you're wearing because I don't think it's appropriate. So I'm not saying I won't let you be dressed, wear what you want, but what you're wearing right now is not appropriate. And a husband should feel free to let the wife know. And I also want to then add another point that if you see a woman who's not dressed well, that is still not an excuse to lust after her. I know that's not what you said. I want the men to take that reason out of their hands. If you see a naked woman, it does not mean go lust after her. You draw your line. That's why I said, don't look at a woman twice. You can see her, but don't take a second look. And I want this to ring in every man's head. When you're driving, you see a woman, say, I don't look at her twice. At the workplace, someone is sitting there, you see their cleavage. I don't look at her twice. And that is your barrier that you build. But if your wife dresses and you think it's not appropriate, you have every right to let her know. The let her be is not allowing everybody to do whatever they want. It's just accepting people for who they are, especially their likes, their dislikes, and their intrinsic being. But if they're doing something that is not right, be bold and say, dear, this is not right. And that should be understandable.
God bless you, Pastor. Last question.
Yes, sir.
So if you have a spouse that for the fact that your wife or your spouse definitely know who you are, how you approach issues, your demeanor and everything. So if you have a spouse that knows you and because of that, they take advantage of that and they keep on, hurting you because they know that when the conflict comes, it's definitely going to be resolved because you have like a peaceful demeanor and they keep on doing that. If someone is here that is going through such situation that they don't want trouble, they don't want they don't want to put themselves in a situation where it harms their marriage. So whatever happens, even when they are right, they know they are right, that their spouse keep on doing it, keep on hurting them. What advice will you give to the person, the partner that keeps on doing that? And how would you advise the person to on the receiving side?
Thank you very much. And that is a great question. And I know we've all heard the sad story from Orlando. So this whole attitude of be quiet, suffer, take it in is ungodly. We seek for help and we resolve situations. So what I would want to say is that if a spouse is taking advantage because we are Christians and they know saying sorry will placate the situation, they are abusing their spouse, and that is not right. So first of all, I would want, what I would say is that address that situation and let the spouse know that I feel you take me for granted. I feel you take my attitude for granted. I feel you take my demeanor for granted, and I don't appreciate that. So the first thing is calling attention to it. If your spouse will use hurtful words only to say sorry, and every time they keep doing that, let them know that I feel you are taking advantage of the situation and you are not helpful in that regard. So call attention to that. Number two, if there is no change, seek for help outside the marriage. That is why we have elders among us. That is why we have pastors, and that is why we have leadership. Seek for help. If things are not going in the right way, call time out and get people in who will address the situation as it should be done. Never suffer in silence. There is no reason for you to suffer in silence. And for people to tell you, oh, if you tell pastor that they know your marriage issues, it's neither here or there. The whole goal is that you should have a happy, fulfilling marriage. And if you're not having that, you have every right to seek for help. And I think it's wrong, and we should never encourage it. We should never tell people be peaceful, only for them to be abused. Rather, seek for help, call for intervention. And there are things, it's right to withdraw. I'm not talking about sex, I'm talking about there are boundaries that you can start having in a marriage if the person refuses to fall in line and do what is right. There are things you can call others and say, hey, if this continues, I don't think I will take this any longer. I don't think I will allow you to abuse me with your words. I don't think I will allow you, and the person says, what will you do? And say, oh, I will seek for help first. And if it doesn't change, then I will take other necessary actions to ensure that I'm not abused, I'm not molested, I'm not maltreated in this marriage. There's no reason for any woman, any man to feel abused in a marriage. If you do, seek for help. First, have an honest, heart-to-heart discussion. And if there is no change, call time out and get people involved to ensure that, and I mean people, I mean elders and the pastor involved. Don't go and call someone you don't know much about, you don't trust, or someone who is just prying and asking for information. How's your marriage? How's your marriage? They are not the people I'm saying go talk to. I'm saying you can talk to the elders of the church and you can talk to the pastor, and we'll find, if we cannot, we'll find people who can to step in and help. So that's what I would say to that.
Thank you, sir.
Pastor, I got a question.
Yes, Apostle.
Yeah, my question is about mingling with females, and my question is like, as that God has called us for these missions of maybe an establishment of a church, whereby America church settings is not like Ghana, whereby when you make a church, everybody just can come. What about people like God sent them to these missions, like our duty stations, where you establish a church whereby you start with a group of people where you need to be in the life of the people. And mostly some of them, sometimes women also make church growing very faster than what men. And sometimes too, there's a condition you find yourself where men make church go faster than women. How do you deal with such cases that you the person starting the church, or you the establisher, be like, people will not see you as like you are into women, or they will pick your character to different something else? Because I found myself in that trouble. For instance, in a parcel where I start the church, and then all my people are students from Ghana. None of them drive. Everybody is just by himself. That I have to pick everybody for their appointment. I have to pick them for everywhere they are going. How people look at me in that extent? Are you not only boys, not only female, but both? How do we deal with such issues as we go in and propagating the gospel, where we have to establish churches and we fall ourselves in that condition? How do you handle it? It's just for everybody.
Yeah, Apostle Quinot, that's a great question. And I believe that is one of the things that as Christian leaders, we have to understand that yes, there is a role for us to play in the lives of everybody. We are called into people's life. We are involved in people's life, but we have to have boundaries that we are mindful of, and we control those boundaries. And that is why in a setting like this, you empower other people to also join you to do it. I totally get it that there are unique situations that you'll be dragged into people's home. You have to go do this for people, and you have to have your standard and honor your standard. As Christian leaders, we cannot cut our members away. I cannot say, no lady should call me. Then what makes you a pastor? I cannot say, oh, I don't talk to women. I only talk to men. How can you be a pastor who talks only men? But what I have to do is that I should have my personal boundaries that I have in mind, and I don't go beyond. And that should be on individual basis. And for me, I deal with married men through their husband. If their husbands are not here, that's when I can call them directly. If I have to deal with a married woman, it's through their husband. That is a boundary I have. If it's a single woman, I deal with them, and I ensure that I don't create emotional bonding. I'm not constantly calling, and before I realize it's only me they call. You try to let other people also involve in their lives, and you balance it out. But I get what you're saying. If you're building a church, if you're in Christian leadership, you must be involved in the lives of the people. But we should still have our standards, and we should maintain those standards. One of the things we have to avoid is the appearance of sin. So what it is that you may not be sinning, but you have to be mindful of the appearance, so that people will not think. And the example I talked about is every Saturday you're going for lunch with this particular woman. You may not do anything with her, but it can create the appearance of it. But if you're helping everybody and it's equal and nobody thinks you have favorites, then you'll be safer that way, rather than picking a particular person that I'm the only one helping this person. That is where people fall into various temptations. But if it's uniform across board, you're doing for everybody, you have the mind for everybody, and you're transparent, people can see through, and your wife and your spouse is on board, and usually they are the safety net for you. If your wife is not comfortable with someone around you, no matter what it is, limit that person's role around you. If your wife is not comfortable with your relationship with a particular person, be it a man or a woman, separate yourself and limit that relationship, so that at least they can maintain their trust. If you lose the trust of your wife, you fall into a lot of various trials and temptation.
Thank you, Pastor.
Welcome, Apostle. Okay, last question, and we'll pray, and we'll continue tomorrow evening. God bless you for coming.
Pastor,
Any other question or comment, please?
Pastor, my question for Wednesday's topic.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Captain Ajiman. So I received the question, it's general for all of us, that what if you're married to someone, the person think that they think that they have hot love, but you think that it's lukewarm. What should be the approach? So the person think that, my love for you is hot, but you the one on the receiving is like, no, this is way lukewarm or even getting closer to cold. What I would say to that is, first of all, we should not be the judges of our actions. So if I do something for the church, I should not come and tell the church, what I've done for you is great. No, rather we should leave people to judge our actions. And that is why when you ask people for feedback, don't be quick to justify yourself, hear them out. So if I think that I'm showing hot love to my wife and she thinks it's lukewarm, I shouldn't debate it. That's her perception. That is her experience. My next question will be, what will make my love for you hot for you? And whatever they say is my feedback for improvement. And I want to say that none of us is perfect. And if you've listened to me over this 1 hour period, I've shared a lot of things I have feel that I didn't do well, to let you know that none of us is perfect. None of us has it all yet. None of us is the best. None of us has the best marriage. All we want is happy marriages. So don't let us get into self-praising, thinking that I am the best. No. If you tell me what will make me the best, that is my assignment. That is what I need to do. And let us be honest with one another. Let us not debate. And it's like, no, my love for you is hot. You say, look up what? No. Before I realize this is not a conflict. Yeah. One person feels that they are not appreciated. So this simple question can even make someone feel, okay, you don't appreciate all I do. No, rather I'll take it as feedback. I told you the truth. So if mommy told me, hey, I feel that your work schedule is having an influence. So what you used to be is different. That is a feedback for me. I'm not going to debate, no, I did this, because the feedback is to help me improve. So all of us should have that mindset for improvement. The mindset is that it's not a competition, it's not a race that you have to finish. At every point in time, be the best husband. At every point in time, be the best wife. The best husband when your wife was pregnant is different from the best husband when she gave birth. The best husband is for your wife while she was in school will be different from the best husband when she's done with school. So at every point of our evolution, we must be willing to do our best for our spouses. And when they give us feedback, take it in good faith and act to be the best for her. So that's what I'll say, Captain Etima. If you have a follow-up, please feel free.
Oh, no, Pascal, thank you. Thank you for answering my question.
So God bless us all. God willing, tomorrow we'll continue. Tomorrow we're dealing with naked but not ashamed. I know it's going to be exciting. I want you to come excited. And there'll be a couple games as well. Those who want prizes, you'll get them on Sunday, God willing. If you're not able to come to church, we'll find a way to have you. So all those who participated, the 4 couples and those who won the Unscrabble game. But we love you. We have a great family. Let's keep building. I'm happy to see all of you. Also, I'm so excited to see you today. I know you've been coming, but I'm just excited to see your handsome face today. And God bless you, my own brother, Kutin, all the way from Ghana. God bless you, brother, and Ajenko and Sister Akos. Brother Disipokus, I'm excited to see your face as well. I know you'll be PCS and you think I'm not aware. I'm tracking it very well, so we'll get to talk before you leave. God bless everybody for coming. I just want to acknowledge those who are joining us from afar. I know some of them, their names, Sister Ekuya, God bless you. That's the Joshua's sister. Sister Nana Serebo, God bless you for joining us all the way from Hinesville. We are happy to have you.
Amen. God bless you, Pastor. Thank you.
Yeah. And Auntie Millie, God bless you for joining us all the way from San Antonio. Let's pray. Elder, any comment before we pray?